And I was like, I need the next book. Hey, what's up? It's Ragan and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm so happy to see you. If you've just come across from my bookstagram at Ragan's Reads, welcome. Today is my first ever bedroom book chat where I'm just going to sit down and go into a full in-depth review of a recent read from my bookstagram. So on my bookstagram I do post full reviews, but of course you're limited to like the number of characters you can use in the description bar, and I just want to get my point across in a really short and concise way. So these book chats are for talking a little bit more in depth about the book. I read House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, first in her new series, Crescent City. It's an adult fantasy, urban fantasy book set in a really in-depth world. I read this when it first came out in March, and it was also, there's a bumblebee very close to me. By the way, check out my cute child tumbler that I got from the Disney store. I'm obsessed with it. I have an iced coffee in here today. I read this, you can see the bumblebee flying in front of the camera. Thank you, it's gone. So I read this in the beginning of lockdown. It's 800 pages. I am a huge Sarah J. Maas fan from the past. I read her Echotar series, A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and then A Court of Wings and Ruin, and then I think it's called A Court of Frost and Starlight, the Christmas novella that maybe didn't need to happen, but I loved that series. The second book was one of my, and is one of my all-time favorite books. And then I started reading the Throne of Glass series. I was unable to finish that, and I'll leave a link in the description bar and up above and about the video where I talk about why I had to stop reading that for health reasons. So this is published as an adult fantasy book. Don't know why, but in Waterstones, which is like the Barnes & Noble of the UK, in Oxford, it was on a table in the middle grade / young adult section that said, fresh off the press, and it was like next to a bunch of clearly middle grade books. Now, if I were a kid and I picked this up and I was like, ooh, vampires, fairies, werewolves, magic, I want to read this, and I was the parent, I'd be like, yeah, go ahead, get it, that's a really big book, like, go ahead and read it. No, it's not for kids. I don't know why it was on that table. It has adult content in it. It has drug use, intimate adult scenes, it has language, so it's adult. That being said, it's new adult. I don't think that this is far from an older YA. I love the genre new adult. I feel like there needs to be an actual section in the bookstore called new adult for those of us who are 18 to 30, like going through life changes, older, you know, the teenage angst romance doesn't do it for us anymore, but we're also not at that age where everything is settled in our lives, and this is new adult, so I love it for that. Now, my thoughts are pretty polarizing. I ended up first giving this book 5 stars when I originally read it, and then I dropped that to a 4-star rating. I've been mulling over dropping it to like a 3.5, but that's just annoying. I'm gonna leave it at 4 stars because I did really enjoy this book. However, it was 800 pages, and it wasn't until page 611 or chapter 68 that I felt that the plot was picking up. So what Sarah J. Maas does really well, in my opinion, is world building. She can build a really complex, intricate world, and I will eat it all up. It's really easy to imagine it. This, for instance, was in an urban setting, so it was very much like a New York City or London. There's bad parts of town, there's wealthy parts of town, there are donut shops, she eats burgers, she gets takeout, she works in a library, she sells expensive furniture, like, it feels very close to home in that way, but everything is magical. There are mermaids, and werewolves, and angels, and all sorts of things. So it's really cool, but because of all that world building, it wasn't condensed. Like, this is chunky. It's really chunky. And there's no map in the beginning. Okay, I take that back. There's this map in the beginning. It's not intricate enough for me. I would have rather have seen two maps, like one of the city and then one of the world itself, because there are lots of like neighborhoods within a district, within a city, within a country, within like this area of land, and trying to piece that all together for me was challenging without a world map. This was just of the city. Now, maybe that's different for other people because I was really ambitious. This was my second book I read since my concussion. So it's been 2 years and I went for a heavy book with lots of intricate stuff. Now, I love fantasy, I love subplots of romance, and that has that, and it's great, and I eat it up, and I love it. The issue that I had for the first part of the book, more than part of the book, probably about 3/4 of the book, was I had trouble connecting to the main character, Bryce Quinlan. She is feisty, sexy, she's depressed, she's arrogant, she is sultry, she's beautiful, she has long red hair, she has curves in all the right places, men are really attracted to her. She's kind of like a wears heels, has her nails done, always looks fabulous kind of woman, and I loved lots of those aspects about her. I love that she's powerful and beautiful and strong, but she also came across rude to me, and I had a problem with connecting with her because I didn't feel like we would be best friends, like in real life. And you know, when you read a book, you kind of put yourself, or at least I do, into the main protagonist's viewpoint. So when I read this book, I'm reading in my mind as if I were her going through all of this, and I related to her in a lot of ways, and Sarah J. Maas does a good job of addressing grief and depression. But at other points, I was just like, girl, this guy clearly has feelings for you, and you're making your life so much harder, and you have feelings for him. Just let it happen. Stop fighting it. Stop saying rude things. She kept calling him an alpha hole, and the guy that I'm talking about is a slave. So he doesn't exactly have it all going on, even though he's the most handsome man in all of the universe. So, yeah, I just wanted her to get going with it, you know? Sarah J. Maas, to me, is one of the queens of fantasy, so I do love her books, and I will definitely read the second one. However, confused. I'm just confused about the cover. First off, unpopular opinion, I don't really like this cover. I don't get it. I read the whole 800 whopping pages, and I don't know why there's this girl and a key and a raven and a snake and some flowers. Maybe over the series we can kind of figure it out. And then House of Earth and Blood, Bryce is not in that house. Like, there are different houses, okay, in this city, depending on what kind of creature you are, I guess you could say. Okay, so there are the 4 houses of Midgard. So there's the House of Earth and Blood, which are shifters, humans, witches, ordinary animals, and many others from whom Cynthia calls, as well as those chosen from Luna, which are like these gods. And then there's House of Sky and Breath, which are angels, fae, elementals, sprites, those blessed by Solus, and those favored by Luna. House of Waters, river sprites, mermaids, water beasts, nymphs, kelpies, something called a knock, and others watched over by Oginas. And then House of Flame and Shadow, so you have like the dark beings, vampires, dragons, necromancers, wicked and unnamed things that even Erd herself cannot see. So our main character here, Bryce, is of House of Sky and Breath, even though she is half human, but she chooses like to be in House of Sky and Breath, and I don't know why this isn't called House of Sky and Breath. Why is it called House of Earth and Blood? Am I missing something? Did I miss something? If I'm missing something and you're like, Ragan, obviously it's called this for a reason, please comment below and let me know what it is that I'm clearly missing. Also, like the sides here look a little bit like coffee stains, and just the other day I was reorganizing our bookshelf and my husband was like, Ragan, what did you do to that book? Like, that's a beautiful new book. What did you do to it? I was like, nothing. He's like, it's stained. I was like, oh, no, that's just the cover. That's just what it looks like. If I had to compare this to A Court of Thorns and Roses, I 100% liked Feyre better. She just was kind and thoughtful and also beautiful and strong and sexy, and of course gets her man, who is also the most attractive man with wings in the whole world. But I just relate to that story better. However, I am really happy that Sarah J. Maas has ventured into the adult world, because I'm going to be 25 this month, and I like reading YA, but I have fallen out of love with it, and I almost feel guilty for it, because a lot of the really popular books are YA, and some of them are my favorite, but I need more grit. I need more real-world problems, and Sarah J. Maas does have real-world problems in this. There are murders, there's violence, there's drugs, there's, you know, having intimate relations with other adults, so she does address things in this book that clearly are not for young adults, and the young adult genre is a whole other topic. I think it's far too broad. So I'm happy that this was published as adult. I hope that she sticks with adult for moving forward. Oh, this is the Waterstones exclusive. I don't know what makes it Waterstones exclusive. It has the red pages. I think Barnes & Noble also has the red pages. These are the end papers. Again, I'm a little bit confused. Oh my gosh, I forgot to say, I did cry at one scene in this book. Someone who I didn't think, I really liked this side character, and when this side character was taken away from us, I cried. I was just, I might have been that type of month. I might have been hormonal or emotional during that time, but I was like, this is friendship. Like, what this character is doing is friendship, and I love that aspect of the book. So it made all of the boredom of reading Bryce just mutz around and, like, you know, not want to get with this guy that she wants to get with worth it, because this friendship that, you know, develops was great. It also has a really epic adventure battle scene at the end that I ate up. I think that for some readers it might have been too abrupt, but I was ready for the action. I needed it. This book would have just been a foundation without it. And then the epilogue is page and a half, and I was like, I need the next book. So yeah, so you can see that my thoughts about this book are just kind of one end to the other. That's why I struggled with rating it. So in the end, a 4-star rating for me is a great read. I loved it, and whether I loved it for how well it was written, how well it was developed, or how well I emotionally connected with it, just like on a personal, subjective basis, that's a 4-star rating for me. It's a great book. A 5-star rating is just that next God tier level where I would just say to basically anyone, read this book. I think you'll enjoy it. It's well done in almost every way. And I thought that when I read her Court of Mist and Fury, I thought that was a 5-star book. I haven't read it in a few years, and I know that some people really hate that series. They think that it's just too caters to a certain kind of reader, and that's okay with me. I suck that stuff right up. I love the romance, I love the gossip, I love the world is in peril and we need to save everyone and also find out that we're this fabulous being. And Sarah J. Maas does that in every single one of her books. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think that you know when you go into one of her books that you're going to have a character that you root for. And even though I didn't connect with Bryce so much in the first or the majority of this book, I rooted for her, and I think Sarah J. Maas does that really well. So those are my bedroom bookish thoughts on House of Earth and Blood, which we all call Crescent City because they made this text bigger. When you see it on the spine, you're like, oh, it's Crescent City. Oh wait, it's not. It's House of Earth and Blood. But those are my bookish thoughts. I am super excited for the second one. I will read the second one. I hope that the next one also has the sprayed edges so that it looks nice on my bookshelf. If you know what the cover stands for, please let me know because I still don't. Anyway, if you liked this video, please just let me know in the comments. I post every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday here on my channel. I love doing this. I've just started, and I love to chat with you guys along the way. So I will see you next time. Bye!